Thank you all for joining our live and interactive telephone town hall as we host a candid conversation with the leaders of CPS Energy and SAWS. Today's event is brought to you by the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce in partnership with our friends, the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and of course our sponsors, CPS Energy and the San Antonio Water System. This event will give you a chance to speak directly with us so that we may answer your questions about these two substantial utilities. For our phone participants, we would like to invite you to watch the live stream by visiting sachamber.org and clicking the button that is directly below the image on our homepage. Then when you get to our live events page, scroll down to the streaming player towards the bottom of the page. You can also watch the live streams on the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, CPS Energy, and SAWS Facebook pages. Tonight, we will hear from CPS Energy President and CEO Paula Goh-Williams and SAWS President and CEO Robert Puente about what makes their organization successful, their unique structures, and their plans for the future. All right, let's get started. As you all probably know, San Antonio is home to the two largest well-run municipally owned utilities in the entire United States. Their unparalleled service, commitment to their customers, and innovative solutions have earned SAWS and CPS Energy recognition as industry leaders both nationally and globally. For decades, SAWS and CPS Energy have committed to going above and beyond to protect our environment, which has put San Antonio on the global map for sustainability practices. From novel water conservation programs to a diverse energy portfolio that embraces renewable energy and new technologies, SAWS and CPS Energy are at the top of their respective games. At the same time, these public utilities are providing low-cost water, wastewater, electricity, and natural gas to our ratepayers and also serving as important engines for economic development. Their flexible, reliable, and quality service are major advantages to the citizens of our community and also serve in attracting and retaining commercial and industrial customers. We are looking forward to a robust conversation and want you at home to get involved by dialing *3 to enter the queue to ask questions live on this call. I would now like to introduce our special guests. With me this evening, I have Paula Goh-Williams, CPS Energy's President and CEO. Paula, thanks for joining us.
Richard, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here tonight.
All right, very good. And also we're joined today by Robert Puente, President and CEO of SAWS. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Likewise, Richard, glad to see you and I look forward to the conversation we're going to have.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so we'll start off in a moment, but I just want to remind people that this is an interactive forum and we'd love to hear from you. That's right, we will be taking questions from participants live during this event. Les recuerdo, si gustaría escuchar nuestro programa en español, oprime estrella 0 ahora. Gracias. If you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time and you will be placed in the queue in order to speak to a member of our team and get you to ask your question live. After that, the next time you hear your name, you will be live on the call and you will be able to speak to us directly. If you are streaming the event on our website, you can simply type your name and question below the streaming player. All right, let's get started. We'll begin with a little history about these two unique organizations. Paula, we'll start with you. CPS Energy is the nation's largest public natural gas and electric company. The organization has been recognized nationally for providing safe, reliable, and competitively priced services to hundreds of thousands of electric and natural gas customers in San Antonio and the surrounding area. Tell me about how the utility was created, its governance structure, and how the City Council is involved in what you do every day.
Absolutely, my pleasure. We have been around serving San Antonio for 160 years. When we researched it, San Antonio only had 8,000 customers, people who lived here in the population. And what we've been proud of is that we've been able to support the expansion of San Antonio that is now our home and for generations and generations. While it was an independent company for a very long time, in 1942, the city of San Antonio decided that it should own its energy company. We started out as a natural gas company at the time, But I think the forefathers and foremothers of San Antonio realized that really owning its energy was a way for it to control the destiny. And so in 1942, for $34 million, there was an investment made in the utility. And interestingly, there were two ways that the company could have been set up. One, it could have had no governing external body. It could have been a function solely of the city council at that time. Or by statute, it could be a body, an independent body of 5 members that include the mayor, that's the way it gets its direct input all the time from the city council. And then ultimately, there were specific authorities created at the time that the council could actually oversee. So still the board independently, we're broken into 4 quadrants. It's representative of all of Bexar County. There's one for each area, and they keep getting readjusted depending on how San Antonio grows. So when a decision has to be made, the management team makes a proposal to the board oversees, looks at policy and strategy, determines whether or not it really approves those activities. And then the 4 discrete authorities that happen to go back to the council include looking over and approving all rates and any debt that's issued. Also, they ratify the membership of the board, and they very much look for anything that goes along with eminent domain. So that's how we were set up. Then what happens is CPS Energy as an entity, and this happens on all utilities, we issue bonds, and that's how we make everything affordable. We spend $11 billion over the history of CPS Energy. Right now, we're totaling $11 billion in assets. You have to invest in big generating units, transmission systems and distribution systems, buildings, all of those activities. But the way we make it affordable for the average person in San Antonio is to borrow money through bonds. And so we're able to pay off the debt over decades, about 20, 25 years. And when we do that, that makes it affordable. But then we have to do an ordinance. When we do the ordinance, that reinforces the structure that we have to use. Some entities don't have a board, but I will say, and this has been a strong conversation at the board table, the overall guidance was they wanted a level of independence to function as a business owned by the city, but knowing that we absolutely serve the city, we're accountable, all the customers we care about, we want to do a great job for them, and we have to keep everything in balance. So that's how we got started.
Well, and I think, Paula, and of course I can say this, I think one of the other reasons they created the structure the way it was is to insulate the board from politics, right? The idea was, as you've said, to function as an independent business, of course, with oversight and a lot of influence from the mayor and city council, but not to have them, do the day-to-day operations. So that's a very unique structure, and I think one that has worked well and served our community very well. Let's move on to Robert. Robert, SAWS was created almost 30 years ago when our city's elected officials determined that it was in the best interest of the citizens of San Antonio to establish a single utility responsible for water, wastewater, and water reuse. I think one can definitely say the decision has proven to be prudent, given the fact that SAWS is a national leader among municipally-owned utilities. Tell me about SAWS's unique governance structure and how the utility has earned its national recognition.
You're absolutely right, Richard. Almost 30 years ago, we had 2 different city departments and the city water board at the time fighting with each other at the state level, fighting each other's permits, each other's right to do certain things, certain programs, certain projects, and it just got too much. Then Mayor Nelson Wolff pushed City Council to consolidate those 3 warring entities into one, and that was SAWS, San Antonio Water System. So what we have now is a very unique structure, somewhat like CPS Energy in the fact that we're separated from the city. We're still city-owned in the sense that the customers are the ratepayers, are also the taxpayers of San Antonio. So the citizens of San Antonio own the San Antonio Water System, and that's how we were formed. We also have a governing structure that is separate from the city. Therefore, we don't have to worry about libraries, about roads, about paving streets, about crime, about police contracts, we can concentrate on the core businesses of SAWS, and that's the San Antonio water, that's providing water and wastewater to our customers. Now, you also asked about what makes us unique, what makes us a leading utility in the nation. And I often just say A, B, C, D. A, the aquifer storage and recovery system that we have, which is the underground storage of water. When we have wet years, very rainy years, and we don't have that demand, we pump the water from the Edwards and we store it in a different aquifer in southern Bexar County. That's A. B, brackish water, that salty water that is a little bit too salty to drink, to use on your crops. There is a huge ocean right under our feet, right under southern Bexar County, and we have drilled into that aquifer, the Wilcox Aquifer, and the brackish water there, we pump it out, we clean it up, and put it into our distribution. So we have a state-of-the-art brackish desalination plant. That's B. C is water conservation. We are known throughout the country for our water conservation programs, where we have driven down the per capita use year by year from the high 200s in the 1980s to something around 115 presently today. So, and these are numbers that continue to go down because of the programs that we have. And finally, D, direct recycled water. We have the nation's largest recycled water system. All of the water that goes through your sink, through your commodes, through your showers, we collect, we clean it up, and we put it back either into the environment, into the San Antonio River, or we push it into a ring around Bexar County, going to major employers like Toyota, USAA, Trinity University, UTSA. And so this is a big, huge environmental, but also economic system that we have, the nation's largest. So that's what makes us unique. Those are some of the things that makes us unique.
Excellent. Well, it's very clear that CPS and SAWS are very, very special organizations and entities that have really allowed this community to be different, special, and delineates us from so many other cities in the country and in the world. So let me remind everybody that this is an interactive forum, and all you have to do is press *3 on your phone. If you want to ask a question, you can ask it live, and we encourage you to ask it live. You know, we have almost 2,000 people on the phone or watching via their computer, so I know that we've got some interest out there, so please queue up, and we'd love to get you in the queue and ask a question. So Paula, let's talk a little bit about, that businesses continue to struggle and to navigate the financial and operational challenges resulting from the pandemic, while rapidly still needing to address their employees and the needs of their customers. As one of San Antonio's largest employers, tell us how COVID has affected your operations and how your organization has responded and supported our customers.
There probably isn't one aspect that hasn't been affected by COVID. I would tell you that when we were envisioning 2020, when we were in 2019, we thought it was going to be very different, fast-paced. I mean, everybody was excited about Vision 2020 and where we were. We do have a pandemic program and a business continuity program, and we were watching the development of the pandemic, COVID-19, from across the globe at the end of the year. And then in February, there we were with our masks, and we had disinfectant everywhere and hand sanitizer and elbow bumps, and we thought we had prepared, but I think everybody did. But the speed at which the pandemic spread across the globe, and then the economic impacts that it's created in terms of pressures, financial pressures, and then ultimately down to affecting San Antonio in terms of jobs, and the economy has slowed down so much. For us, we never stopped moving because we are an essential service. We have to keep the lights on. And there are more people either, again, at home searching for jobs, or there are people at home working from home. And we have to make sure that that power continues to flow all over San Antonio. We do notice now that people call us even when there's a blink, because much more consciously, maybe when they were at home and we were doing work, they wouldn't notice, but now they do. And we know that it's absolutely important that we keep our employees safe, that we keep them healthy. They have to practice physical distancing. They have to wear their personal protective equipment. It's really tough in Texas. It's hot and it's humid. They're out there every day with their big S's on their chest. They're doing work to do repairs and maintenance. They're working through storms. We also have people on the phone taking phone calls and making outbound calls. This is very different for us. We always have taken inbound calls, but we very much understood how much people were being affected. Our energy advisors are highly trained, and we've had a program to support them for several years, and they now have the opportunity with the program that we call CORE. They can call customers and help them and ask them what assistance they might need. We, of course, are going to tell them about our programs, but we even go out and get information about other programs, so food bank or so other social services. We know that not everybody has a computer, so we'll look up things. Our people will look up things on the internet and get phone numbers and contact names. Anything that we can to be helpful. We know how different this pandemic has been. And so early on, we're just trying to put it together, and we're trying to be of a great service to our community. We decided, along with SAWS, very early on to suspend any disconnects, and we haven't done disconnects for 6 months. And I have to be truthful, we don't know when we're going to start disconnects again. We know that we're feeling great in the community because we're starting to see a real benefit of all the physical distancing that we're doing. But we also know that schools and children need to be interacting, and the education system's trying to restart. And so we just want to be there for our customers, seeing if we can be helpful in any way we can. The city of San Antonio did get some CARE funds. We, as a municipal entity, as an utility, can't directly get federal funds. So we've had no direct infusion of funds. And so we have had some assistance where we have been able to carve out money. We have a residential energy assistance program, and we have a warm program, and we've made as many of those dollars available to the community. The city has had funds, and we've been able to partner with them to get customers assistance. And we're going to continue to work with the city as much as possible to see if we can be as helpful as we can. And again, just keep talking, helping, creating different activities that we think can be of assistance at a time when people are so stressed out. And that's what we're committed to do. I've been a customer of CPS Energy longer than I've been an employee. I grew up in this community. I'm from San Antonio. My parents grew up over by the Coliseum, and I was raised there. And this is the community that our employees, our 3,100 employees, love. And so we're just going to do all we can to be helpful.
Excellent. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Paula. All right, Robert. So similar question. So many people have lost their jobs as a result of COVID and are struggling to pay their utility bills. What is SAWS doing to ease that burden?
Well, Richard, one of the things that we have to do running a utility like this is always be ready with what's happening, what's going to happen. And some of the things that we're doing for the individuals that you mentioned that have lost their jobs because of COVID are exactly the same programs that we already had in existence. We just have to do more of them. So we already had affordability programs that helped people that were below the poverty line. We already had programs that helped people that had one event in their life, a divorce, medical bills, a loss of a job, that results in them needing some help for 2 or 3 or 4 months, and not just a continuous situation as some of the people that are chronically in low-paying jobs. Whether it's veterans, the elderly, the disabled, we have all these programs. And each year we put more and more money into these programs to help more and more people. So when COVID hit early in March, when we started getting these news stories about having to shut down, one of the first things we did was to discontinue the disconnection of these situations where people cannot pay their bill. So we haven't done that since early March. And that's something that we are going to continue on until we get some idea of what this pandemic is and how we are eventually going to recover from it. Now, just like Paula mentioned, when you run a utility like CPS Energy or San Antonio Water System, you better be ready for a lot of things. So we've already had practice runs. We already knew what some of the things we would have to do if a certain catastrophic event happened. whether it was weather related, whether it was a terroristic threat happening or anything like that. We already know what we're supposed to be doing in case things happen out of the ordinary. So we already had these plans, and we already been practicing these plans throughout the years. So our customers still can rely on us for their water and wastewater services. We're still doing all of that. It's not the optimum way to run a utility, having to do a lot of the work from home. But what we have found out is a lot of our employees, we told them right before they left, I got into different groups of employees and told them, if you're doing your job and you do it well from home, we're going to have to rethink of how we do things at SAWS as far as allowing some of the employees to work from home. But all in all, what this pandemic has taught us is that we were ready and we have the resources to help out these individuals. Any good business has a savings that they can rely on, that they can use for emergencies. This is an emergency, and this is how we're helping our customers by not disconnecting their water services. This is vitally important, obviously, because one of the major things about beating this virus is not only wearing these masks, but also washing your hands often and thoroughly, and we have to provide that service.
Excellent. Well, thank you both. Critical, the services you provide, and of course, critical that the energy is still flowing, water is still flowing, and people can still flush their toilets. What a blessing that you all are, and the folks that work under you to this community. We have our first caller. It is Virginia Rodriguez, and Virginia is on the northwest side of San Antonio. Virginia, you're live. Please ask your question.
My question was mostly for the elderly. Like, I always do everything I can to turn every light off, and there's not any more than I can do to save electricity. But yet my bill is really big. I'm on a small Social Security check, and that's all I have. So, but it won't help me, like if you say, well, you can pay your bill later, and that won't help me because and you can check my records. I always pay my bill on time, and that's just in me. I'm never late with my payment, and I'll do whatever I can to make it, even if I have to do without certain foods so that I can pay my bill. What would help me if you would give the elderly that can't work like a certain percentage of the bill, something like that.
Sure.
Because that, or whatever y'all can do to help out in that way to the elderly, just the elderly, because I'm 79 years old, will be 80 pretty soon, and I live alone, and it's very hard on me. Many times it's very hard. So okay. I just want to see if there's something you can do to help the elderly.
Sure. Virginia, thank you so much. We understand. We appreciate your call. And so, Robert, why don't we start with you? Things that we all are doing for the elderly to help them with their bills.
Hopefully Virginia is still listening. Virginia, you're exactly the type of person that we have programs to help. So if you're not already on our affordability programs, we have programs that help individuals like you every single month by discounting their water bill, exactly the things that you want. So I'm going to find you somehow. I'm going to have my team search for you. Your name is Virginia Rodriguez, somewhere on the north side, 79 years old. And so we're going to find you, make sure you're on our affordability programs, and make sure, because we have other programs, and make sure that if you're not signed up for those, that you get on those. But one of the major things that we do, Virginia, that overall helps not only individuals like you, but our whole community, is to keep the rates down as much as possible for everyone, to have the rates themselves be affordable. And that's what we are working on. So believe me, Virginia, I obviously hear it in your voice that you need some help, and we're there to help you and assist you.
Excellent. And Robert, just so you know, all the folks that have called in through the technology that we have, we've captured their phone numbers. So we'll certainly get that to you and your team so that you can reach back to her. Paula, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the things that you all are doing?
Well, I am really glad that we are able to reach out based upon the contact information, and we will follow up first thing tomorrow. But for everyone, we also have programs for senior citizens. We do have an affordability discount. We do have programs that also can let us help and look at your home and see if there's a way that we can weatherize or help in terms of assistance. We have an energy efficiency and conservation program that has a lot of outlets that we can think about to try to be helpful. The biggest thing is for us to talk to you, and we're excited to do that. And once again, I will say that we also have programs where we can provide credits to bills. We've been able to pull some resources together and been able to, we can put a couple of $100s at a time to help with that. And we have the partnership with the city through the CARES Fund. So we have more, we always have some programs, but we even have more access. And so please, we will call you and see what we can do to be helpful.
Excellent. Thank you, Paula, and thank you, Robert. It's heartening to know that we've got these great programs that are helping and that you want to continue to help. So Virginia, we'll get back to you. They'll get back to you and see what they can do to help. All right, so let me remind everybody again, press *3 on your phone so that you can get in the queue to ask a question. And those of you that are streaming, you can simply type your name and question below the streaming player. So let's try something a little bit different. We want to hear from you, of course. So let's take a quick poll of all of those who have tuned in. If you are on your phone, you can vote by pressing the corresponding number on your keypad. If you are online, you can vote by selecting your response below the streaming player. And here's the poll question. Do you think San Antonio has well-run utilities? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Again, do you think San Antonio has well-run utilities? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. It'll take a few minutes for us to tabulate, but we'll begin to tabulate and then we'll come back in a little bit to see what the poll yields. All right. So both SAWS and CPS Energy have received some criticism about accountability. In my experience as CEO of the Chamber and before I was a San Antonio City Council person, I heard the criticism and I still hear it today. This criticism about transparency, accountability, let's tackle it head on. Paula, let's start with you. Tell me, what are your thoughts on transparency and accountability?
I think they are extremely important. And I will say that we have always had an ear for listening to our customers. We've had public input sessions for a very long time, for whenever we were, even when we did the flexible path strategy, where it started to make us think about how do we need to be thinking about new solutions for the community. We did multiple public input sessions, and that's just been part of our approach. A couple of years ago, we did also get some feedback that people wanted to have public input at our board meetings, and we took in a lot of input about that, and now we have public input at our board meetings. I would say that we have at least a handful of people every meeting that provide us input, and we appreciate that. We also do surveys. We also do people first fairs. We used to be able to do those in person. We do more of those virtually now. We have mechanisms for people to reach out to us through our energy advisors. They're able to give us feedback. Just any way that we can have outreach, we are very open. The chambers are great. Look at what they're doing here. This teletown hall is an amazing new way to really kind of couple what we're used to, making phone calls and providing feedback. We track and tally all of those things and take in input for everything that we have. Can we take in more? Always. Are we open to more? Absolutely. On our website, all of our information for our board meetings is posted. And you can also listen. And even though it's been really difficult during the pandemic, because we used to do it in person, but to keep everyone safe, we are still taking in public input. We are still broadcasting our meetings. We are still making that information available. Is it always easy to do? No. Can you always take in more input? Absolutely. One thing that we talk about at CPS Energy is not only to ask others for input, but for us to be self-critical. There is always something that we can do. It's helped us achieve great scores in terms of customer service. It's helped us do much better in terms of reliability. You got to keep working on those things all the time, and you've always got to keep open to input. I think the input perspective is we, though, serve a huge community, the 7th largest city in San Antonio. And what we find is we get a lot of opinions about things that people want us to focus on. And while transparency and input are always important, I will tell you over and over again what we hear is, just like our previous caller, focus on affordability and focus on reliability. We haven't had a rate increase in 6 years. Energy is something that the more you use it, and when the summer gets hot, bills go up. But we haven't increased our base rates in over 6 years because we know affordability is extremely important. And we know that people rely on power to keep them as comfortable as possible. Sometimes you got to turn that thermostat up so you can help conserve and you can help the environment and all of those things. But we know that customers make the choices that are best for them. And along the way, we want to hear from them. So we love all of this feedback, and whatever we get that we need to continue to work on, we will always be open to.
Excellent. Paula, thank you. Robert, before I go to you with a similar transparency question, let me tell you all about the results of our poll. Now remember, the question was, do you think San Antonio has well-run utilities? I am happy to report that 87% of the folks that responded said yes, San Antonio does indeed have well-run utilities. Congratulations to both of you. Of course, that's a reflection on your work and those of your team. So very, very exciting and happy to report that. Robert, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about transparency for you. As you know, Vista Ridge was a massive project and probably one of the largest that SAWS has ever had. I recall one of the unique aspects of the contract negotiations was a commitment by then SAWS Chairman Berto Guerra to open up a great deal of the deliberations to the public. In all my years of public life, I would say that such negotiations like that are unprecedented. How do you respond to those who criticize that SAWS is not transparent?
Well, my first response, Richard, is to let everybody know that Paul and I are going to be arguing after this to see what utility carried the other utility to get to 87%. So I'm going to put my money on SAWS. However, back to your question, transparency and accountability, we hear this a whole lot, at least at SAWS, we've been hearing it a whole lot in relationship to the Vista Ridge project. But the only people that are saying that are people that have always been opposed to the Vista Ridge project. And so we knew this was going to be a controversial project. So from the very beginning, we decided to have the contract negotiations with the private company be open to the public. These are exactly the way open meetings are held under state law. We posted the meeting, we set the time for the meeting, we allowed the public to speak if they wanted to speak, and we negotiated. We negotiated back and forth with the Spanish company. We gave and took, and the results of that particular day's negotiation, if we reached some agreement on some of the language to the potential contract, we would post that on our website so that people could, that weren't able to come to the meeting, they could see what was done, what was accomplished at that particular meeting. So these meetings went on until we finally had a resolution and an agreement as to the project, and we were able to have a project, have a contract that then, talking about accountability and transparency, we took to City Council for them to vote on, for them to look at. And so a part of that were hearings upon hearings to get the word out to the public as to what we're doing. Since the conception of this project, there has been over 100 community events where either I or part of my staff went out into the public to talk about Vista Ridge as to what was going on. Over 25 different times we were in front of City Council, which are obviously public meetings, to explain to the City Council members what was going on and what Vista Ridge was about. For 48 straight months, every single month without failure, our board has received a presentation regarding the Vista Ridge project. So when you talk about accountability, transparency, I want facts as to why people think we're not being transparent. Now, accountability. There's nothing like a public entity that is accountable. Every single thing that we do is open to the public, from our employees' whereabouts, through their calendars, their salaries, any communications that I have with any employee, with anyone, is subject to scrutiny. So we are held accountable. We're held accountable by a lot of formal situations also, such as we have an internal audit. We have an external audit. Every year we have external auditors that come into SAWS and audit everything that we do. We have our board of trustees. All the expenditures go through the board. We have to present to the board on why we want certain things done, on what we are doing. San Antonio, City of San Antonio, our city council, we are accountable to our city council members. There's an office within the city government, Office of Public Utilities, that also has oversight over what we do. So we are also held accountable to them. But the main thing that I think I want to say is that we're held accountable, I think, because of the example that I want to set, that I set, that everything that we do, we have to answer to, and everything that we do, we have to do in the light of day. And therefore, I think that idea, that perception, that reality is cascaded down among all of our employees, and then we know what we have to do, and we know that what we do is with the best interest of our customers always in mind. And when you do that, you don't fail, you don't have problems. If we make mistakes, we tell our board, and the public hears about it. And so the accountability and the transparency issues are things that I think people just use when they are unhappy with a particular thing that utility is doing. For us, for SAWS, it's the Vista Ridge project. For CPS Energy, it's some of their coal-fired plants. And so they just use that as a tool to make their argument.
Yeah, I think that's well said, Robert. We can try to keep everybody happy, but it's an impossibility. But the work that you do indeed keeps the lights on and keeps the water flowing, and that's an important part of life. So thank you both. So let's go to an online question. This question is by Sharon Denson, and she asks, how has each organization been affected by the recent issues of racial discrimination and disparities? Well, why don't we start with you?
I think that inherently the issue about systemic racism it's obviously not new. Unfortunately, the issues that we've seen in terms of the deaths of Mr. Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so many have really amplified the intensity. And now that people have videos, they can see what's happened. That said, I think systemic racism is a huge burden on society all the way through. It's not just about interacting with police. It's about interacting with each other. It's about respecting each other and appreciating each other, whether or not you are of color, Black, Hispanic, Asian, and so many nationalities, or if you're white. And I do understand that at CPS Energy, we have a broad workforce. We have a diverse workforce. We have people from all different aspects and walks of life, backgrounds. And what we require is that we are respectful with one another, and we affect our ability to interact by being respectful with one another. We have had some very candid conversations across our organization about this issue on a voluntary basis. And what I have noticed is that it has affected people of color, and it has affected people who are not of color. This is just a time, though, where we need to be talking about this, where we need to have it comfortable. If an employee wants to talk about this issue, then we make it available to talk about that. And again, we're gonna fix this as a society. We're gonna be open. We're going to make sure that we're inclusive. We're going to treat everyone with respect and give them opportunities. We believe that we should have a workforce that reflects our city and our nation and our globe. So this is just one of those things that you have to keep talking about it in a way that's comfortable with everyone and make it a safe conversation, make it a respectful conversation. And we'll get by making sure that we are much more aware of the challenges that we have as a society, and we could solve it by sitting down and addressing issues, making things better. That's our approach at CPS Energy.
Excellent, excellent. Robert, what are y'all doing at SAWS?
I think I can pretty much say the same thing that Paula said. And a lot of it comes from the top. If you just look at your computer screen, you'll see an African-American woman as the leader of the largest municipal power and electric utility in the United States. I'm a Mexican-American man, and we probably are one of the fifth largest water utilities in the United States. Our board, SAWS board, chair is an African-American woman. Over at least half of my leadership team is minority. So the example you said at the top has to filter down throughout the organization. And we have a zero tolerance policy for any kind of sexual discrimination, sexual harassment, racial discrimination. We do not tolerate jokes that go back and forth regarding ethnicities or racial, anything like that. We fire people for things like that. We fire them. We don't just discipline them. They know that that's a zero tolerance situation. And when you have that, people respect it. People understand that. People don't want to lose their jobs just because they make a crass joke or they can't control themselves about who they like working with or don't like working with. So for San Antonio Water System, I think it's very personal. It comes from knowing who your employees are and setting an example and then doing the right thing, not making excuses that you can't find qualified candidates for a particular position. You go out and find them and you recruit them and you bring them in. And so we're very proud of what we're doing at SAWS. And so the racial diversity and has always been there. We've taken it very seriously, and we understand that we're part of the community and we have to reflect the community's values.
Excellent. Well, I can say I've known both of you as leaders and, of course, personally for many years, and I know that your words are true. I know that you live that code, and we say thank you for that. So let's move on to another live caller. We have with us on the line Shirley Ellis. Shirley, you're live. Please ask your question and welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having this forum for us. These are two planning ideas that I want to throw out and give you a little information on for SAWS and for CPS. I love the CPS Weatherization Program. It's a great program. I applied for it twice. I did not get accepted because my income is just a little above the range, the maximum. So I understand that. But there's an opportunity there for both SAWS and CPS, and I'm on the east side of town. I'm in an older home. I need insulation in my attic. I need double or triple pane windows, which would really, really help with my electric bill. I can't afford it, but if I could afford it, and when I do afford it, I want trustworthy contractors that can come out and do the work for me. And so I'm just throwing things out there. Like, is there a plan in the future to help SAWS and help CPS by getting our homes up to where they are efficient for electrical and water? Thank you.
All right. Charlie, thank you so much for calling in. That's a great question. And we thank you for applying. And so why don't we start with you, Paula, since you mentioned the weatherization program.
I love the fact that she called in and that she's trying and that she's giving great suggestions. We have a huge energy efficiency and conservation program, and it has a lot of components in it, including weatherization. It has the aspects of solar that you can get rebates on if you install, but we also have a solar host program where we can give a credit back to a customer that allows us to have a contractor, a credible contractor, put panels on a home. So we have additional programs, and we will reach back out to you just to make sure that you know about all the programs that we have. The interesting thing is last year we completed the 13-year program. We saved about $100 million from our original budget, and we got it done a year early. And now we're in what we call, we named it Flex Step and Step Bridge. We're bridging ourselves right now to a new program. So we're very much taking in new ideas and thoughts about how we can be more helpful and what kind of programs that we have. I will say the way that this works, there aren't any federal dollars that come to San Antonio. And again, we make sure that the rates stay affordable for everyone. And we haven't had a rate increase in over 6 years. But the way we do this is working with our board and our council. We created this program. And what happens is everyone pays a little bit into the program. And it depends. Some years, the more we can put in as a community, the more that we can create more opportunities for people who not only want to contribute to the program, but also want to participate in those activities. And so I will say it costs about anywhere from $350. It's been as high as $550 a month that people actually put in. But again, that goes into the funding process so we can figure out what to do. So we want both input, and then we want to make sure that the community understands the cost and the value back. Now, the real benefit is when you're able to do those things, and we can take in those suggestions for new programs, we're able to save energy as a community. We did not have to build another power plant in 2012, although San Antonio's demand keeps increasing, population has been increasing. We haven't had to build a new plant because the community is all working together. So we create this whole ecosystem to help each other, and we create an ecosystem where people can go after those activities. The solutions about what can be done in the attic and window panes, we do have some analysis on that, but we also want to hear from our customers. So we will call you and we'll make sure that we get your recommendation fully. And we will be coming forward to the board and the council later on this year, beginning of next year, to talk about the new things that we can do for the community.
All right, very good. Thank you, Paula. So Robert, before I go to you, let's do another poll question. We're getting short on time. So if you're on your phone, remember you can vote by pressing the corresponding number on your keypad. And if you're online, you can vote by selecting your response below the streaming player. And the poll question is this: what do you think the top priority of our utilities should be? Press 1 for affordable rates, press 2 for reliability, press 3 for conservation programs, and press 4 for the environment. Let me repeat the question again. What do you think the top priority of your utilities should be? Number 1, affordable rates. Number 2, reliability. Number 3, conservation programs. And number 4, the environment. And we'll come back in a few moments with the poll results. But Robert, why don't you take a stab at Shirley's question, please?
Would you tell me the question again? I'm sorry, Richard.
Yes, she was talking about weatherization and programs that SAWS and CPS can do to help, weatherize homes and energy efficiency and water efficiency, that sort of thing.
When you talk about a home, San Antonio water system, you're talking about shower heads, faucets, outdoor hose bibs, and if you have an irrigation system, the irrigation system. So the lady that called in, if she has those things, then SAWS can definitely help. And specifically, what maybe is in dispute is whether or not she has an irrigation system, because that is where a lot of water is used. So we have programs where we have low low flow shower heads, faucet aerators. We have a program where we will send an individual to your home to check all of your toilets, your faucets, anything where water comes out of, and make sure that they're running efficiently. If you have an irrigation system, we also have someone that will go out there and check it for efficiency also. But also maybe your controller is putting too much water out and it doesn't really that much, or it's coming on too often, or a different way to water. All of these programs are not unique in the sense that they're new programs. We've been doing this for year upon year, and they're not income-based, so anyone can qualify for these things. So please call us, not just the individual that called in, but anybody else that is listening. Please let us know, and we would love to go out there and do what is contrary to what a lot of businesses do, and that is convince our customers to buy less of our product. That's how we do it at SAWS.
Yeah, it's an interesting business model, but thank goodness you're municipally owned and it works, right? Very good. Thank you both. Great answers. So the results from our poll have come back. And remember, the question was, what do you think the top priorities for the utilities should be? And number one was affordable rates. And guess what? It's got 49% of the individuals who have voted said that is the most important one. Reliability is number 2 at 31%. The environment is number 3 at 11%, and conservation programs is is the fourth at 9%. So very interesting results. So we've got another internet question that I'd like to go to. This internet question is from Joe Jones, and it's pretty interesting. And the question is this: based upon the anticipated growth plan for San Antonio, has SAWS and CPS Energy considered merging? Both organizations have quite similar corporate cultures and could expect cost reductions for the community and creation of synergies and expansions efforts. All right, so Robert, why don't we give that one to you first?
Sure. At different times, these talks about merging these two utilities have been very hot and heavy, and other times they just aren't happening. But yes, you can see some synergies happening if we merge the two utilities. And so that's really, I think, for our governing bodies to decide, my board and the CPS board, and also City Council, because obviously they would have a big say. But just because we're still two separate entities doesn't mean that we're not working very well together. For example, our biggest user of water is CPS Energy. CPS is, we are each other's largest customer. And so we rely a whole lot on each other. So we work very well with each other. When CPS has a situation where they want their customers to use less energy because there's a massive heat wave going on, and it's the middle of the afternoon, and they want us to not wash our clothes or turn the thermostat down, SAWS comes with a power plant in Southern Bexar County, the wastewater plant, that we essentially turn off. We flip the switch and turn it off, and we don't use energy. So there's a lot of coordination with CPS Energy on different things like that where we help each other out. Another one, for example, is we are reaching an agreement with CPS Energy for SAWS to piggyback their infrastructure on meter infrastructure. CPS Energy a few years ago went to digital reading of their meters. It's quite different with water. We're not there yet. There's no power in the water meter. You don't want electricity near water, but we're working with CPS to use their platform, and that's going to happen this coming October, where we will have a contract, hopefully voted by our board, SAWS board, to allow this to happen, where we are working with CPS Energy. So I can go through contract upon contract, different programs by different programs, where we are already working very well with each other and taking advantage of each other's expertise in what we are doing. So Paula, I don't know if I'm going to be your boss or you're going to be my boss, but either way, I know we could do very well together.
Excellent. Paula, we're getting close. We've got about 5 minutes left, so I'll give you an opportunity to give your thoughts on the potential merge or consolidation.
I would say everything that Robert said was on point, and I would add a couple of things. It has been an absolute pleasure to look for those synergies, and particularly when you look at new technologies, there's certain activities that you can do. And Robert's team and our team have been working closely together. We have a list of opportunities that we're looking at, and then one of the biggest ones is the digital meter system. We don't want SAWS to have to overinvest in technology that we can work on together. I would say that there is a huge amount of expertise between two organizations. We can find some synergies, but just by consolidating doesn't automatically create it. Now, as Robert says, those are for boards and those are for councils to think about those synergies, but they're very, very different businesses. And as I was sitting there, I hadn't had that question posed to me in a long time, but that would be like somebody saying, why don't you combine the Spurs with the Dallas Cowboys? I don't want anybody to get upset because we love them both. There's a sport and there's an expertise, and the skills are just a bit different. So maybe we can practice together, maybe we can optimize the training facilities together, but we're not going to play the same league at the same time. I will say we believe in absolute partnership. We do believe that what we need to do is find those synergies to save our community money, to be more efficient, to be able to figure out where we can make those connections. So we absolutely are committed to do that. But we also will make sure that we are running the best utilities, the best energy company and the best water company by making sure that we keep our expertise strong as well.
Excellent.
And I will add, Paula, if I may, yes, Richard, I will add also that the lowest municipal rates on water are the utilities that are separated from the city, where they have their own governing structure. Those utilities have the lowest water rates.
Excellent. Well said. Well, thank you both for joining us. We've come to the end of our time. Paula Go-Williams, Robert Puente, you both are true professionals and committed to this community. And so I say thank you on behalf of the San Antonio business community. And with that, I'd like to thank all the people at home watching today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking time to learn more about these two amazing utilities that are providing so much opportunity for us. And with that, I say stay safe, be careful, and we will see you next time. Good night.